Hello everyone, welcome to another rapid speedrun game against Haruto, rated 1396. We're going to hit him with the Scotch Gambit, see how they respond. I think at this rating they're going to start taking the pawn more and more instead of doing d6 or f6. d6 is still going to be popular. We're still not quite over 1400, but when we do they'll start taking. So as you've seen in our other d6 games, we take the pawn. And then, regardless of how he takes, we have an advantage. If he takes with the knight, we capture, we take his queen, and normally losing castling rights in a queenless game isn't the biggest deal, but we immediately get to develop with a threat. When we long castle, his king's in the line of fire. It's a little bit of initiative. He develops a piece saying, you take my pawn, I'll take your pawn. But I disagree, because I'm going to go f3, create a solid structure, somewhat dominate the knight, and he's going to interpose in the Philidor queen trade style, where you purposely double isolate the pawns. However, I'm going to go for it, as maybe I know how to break through it, maybe I don't. To be seen. So he wants to develop, probably here. Let's cut that out and develop ourselves. He has to find shelter for his king before I give him the check, and he has to waste time. This construction you eventually can break down with f4, but you want to have your pieces in the right spots. Also, he may not know exactly how to place his pieces to defend these. So he gives this check, but I'm of course going to just block it for free. He clearly wants to challenge my bishop. That's his idea. No big deal. I want to continue my development. My knight doesn't have too many squares, so let's put it to their only square, really. They both lead to the same square. He goes for the bishop trade. I don't want to open his rook. However, I do want to develop my king and bring it towards the center with the trade. A king on e3, already pretty well positioned, especially supporting f4 and defending the center. He doesn't go for the trade, but now we have the extra possibility of going knight here, forcing it, and now we can take with the knight, which normally would be a great square, but here a lot of it is kind of dominated, so we have to decide if it's worth taking with the knight, and the answer is probably no, because it has to go back to where it came from. So you might as well take with the king and support f4 ideas. He doesn't take. Is he crazy though? This looks like a pretty good bishop, right? If I'm the only one who has it? Or am I making up a bad judgment? Hold on. I mean, my central pawns are on white. My knight, he can always take my bishop and go b5. And I'm hopping around. I feel like this is a good trade for me. So I'm going to do it. Okay, he takes with the pawn, which opens his rook. But he doesn't take with the knight, which gives him other possibilities. So do we go 1 or 2? Let's just go 1 and stay simple. Get our pieces in the game and then formulate a plan. You absolutely have to know how to play these types of positions, where you trade the queens early. Okay, so he pushes the extra pawn, but I have plenty of support. Creates room for the knight, but weakens this square a little. I have the bishop, so I should probably try to open up the center. Okay, if I open up the center, I get to move my king up. He gets to put his knight here. Not right away. Although I'm hitting stuff, he kind of has some weaknesses. I could put my rook on f1 first. Do I want to take back with the rook? How do I want to even take back? Maybe. Or is g3, f4, take back with the pawn? Maybe that. But g3, rook over, g5 hangs. So he can't really stop me. I'm going to go try g3. Considering I don't see how he stops this. So he just makes an automatic knight move. Because he wants to go here. But that's not really a problem. For a couple of reasons. One, you can go rook d1, and then when he hops in, you drop your bishop back with domination on the knight. You're not blocking your rooks. There's harmony. There's also this check, which is uncomfortable for him because I don't know where he goes. So I think I'm going to start with the check and then take the knight and triple isolate the pawns. I want to throw in the check because if he goes here, that's free development. Oops. If he goes the other way, his rook won't be, as effective as fast. And now it can't even go there, but okay, so do we take the knight? I imagine we do, because if there are no rooks on the board, you can kind of just walk your king up and eat everything. I feel like triple isolated, double isolated. Even though we're not up anything, this has to be a way better endgame for us. I mean, even if the engine said it was even, which it definitely doesn't, it has to be way easier to play for white. Okay, so now we don't need f4. Now that his king is not here, we can actually take over the central file. I chose this rook just because if I move the other one, he's going to maybe do this, and when you take, go in. Okay, so he challenges us, which is what I want to see. I want to see him react. I think I'm going to go for the trades because we have the better structure. So his king can't actually get to our holes, but we can get to his holes through this little avenue. That's the one difference. If you poured water on the position from his side, it can't leak in except through here. But his king's over here. So he moves his rook to avoid the trade, but that has to be way worse. Letting our rook in has to be way worse. Not to mention we can just go here and auto pick up a pawn. But I feel like, he can't even infiltrate over because your king blocks the infiltration, so you can even leave the file. So maybe you can just scoop this pawn with this in mind, but let's say we give the check. Let's say he goes f6. Yeah, maybe we just go here. Because he goes king f6, you see anyway. I don't want to help his king get towards my pawns. So let's scoop this, and there is a win condition. Because if we go here, and we start trading pawns, we're going to end up with an extra pawn. And also he can't defend this, so we're guaranteed to win another pawn. Okay, so he goes for broke. He wants to create an open file with his pawn like this, but we don't have to oblige. We can actually go h3, so when he pushes, we close things down and irritate him. So let's do that. We don't want to give his rook anywhere to go. Our king stops this file. Okay, his only hope is this. Can we... Okay, I don't even want to calculate. Just give me the pawn. That's 2 pawns. If the rook leaves to go here, that's a 3rd pawn. So, you can still mess with him with certain pawn moves, but I have to calculate which one it is and stuff, and I don't want to do that. Like, you could go here. He's not going to block it. He's going to take. If you take with the h pawn, you open the h file, and same for f, although the f is kind of blocked, so it would take him longer to use it, and even then your king covers those squares. So maybe you could have done that. It's the same thing here, though. You basically take once and push once. So like take, push, right? And now we have an outside passer, and his rook can't even use the f file that he just opened because our king blocks the entrance, the entry points. And we're up 2 pawns. All you have to do now is run this up because of the pin, and it's GG. I don't know why he moved it closer. That's kind of weird, because now this happens even quicker. And we just have 2 outside pawns, and we just push them. What? Okay. Did he not see that? Okay, anyway, let's go through the game. We get a king's pawn game. Develop and center. Center and development. And whenever they do this d6 move, whether they developed their queen's knight or their king's knight, you have a good advantage. It's not the only move. You can do a bunch of things here. You can go bishop b5, developing your bishop. You can develop your knight. You can gain space. You can also take. So we take because he has to take back. And now we're offered this opportunity to take the knight in the center, go for the queen trade, and you can see there's lots of master games here still. This is just a Scotch game. He takes. It's a completely even game, right? But we're the ones, boom, who get to develop with a threat, causing practical problems to our opponent. He says, I'm not going to defend, I'm going to counterattack. But we just support our center, give our king some room, and restrict his piece. It says this is a blunder. You have to keep in mind that this is not the Philidor queen trade line. It's just a different opening. And the moves are different. Like, just because it resembles the double isolated pawns, all of the other pieces and are not in the same place. We're even missing a knight over here, or that is often here in the Philidor queen trade line. We already have c6 in. Well, I mean, it all depends on what white does and stuff, but this isn't that. So you can't just make the move because it looks familiar. So, but I guess it was a good try because how else to defend the pawn? And it doesn't look immediately easy to break, so I get it. So we take it and just ruin his structure. It's just a free, very, very long-term win condition. It says we're plus 1.8, which is a lot, but it's not like he's just going to start hanging pieces. So we just develop in restriction. Okay, force move for free. Development in center. Developing our king and center. What's the best move? Pin the knight? Yeah, I would not do that. I guess the only reason would be to reroute it to hit this pawn, but I still wouldn't do that. And give his bishop this diagonal, which I weakened with all my light pawns. I guess he can't coordinate because it's only one piece, but still, I wouldn't put my bishop there. Otherwise, yeah, just lift the king. Okay, so we do the normal thing, not the crazy thing. And now improving a piece and for free because I think that this is a good trade for us. And that's why the engine says he should take our bishop. He doesn't do it and it is an inaccuracy. They want me to give this check again. They keep talking about the check. This is what they say is my one inaccuracy of the game, obtaining the only bishop on the board. But it's still good for white at plus 1.3. What's the point of their check? King has to go, I don't know, somewhere. We still don't take the bishop, we just develop. He undefends the knight. He gets in a bind because he can't put a rook here. So he can't really move his king there. So he kind of has to go back. But then he hangs the pawn. I see. Now the check makes more sense because now it's actually very disruptive. So before I didn't like it so much. Now I can see the benefit to disconnecting his knight and rook. But not just that. In addition, the bishop controls this square. So when you immediately hit the knight, he can't defend it. So it's like very little nuances that all come together to make it work. In any case, we just grab the free trade. An advantageous trade. Fine. We just make one little tiny consolidating move. We're not up anything, right? But we're plus 1. And that's about what I thought we were at this point in the game, because we just have a better structure, but it's not going to be so easy to win. You have to still maneuver. Okay, so here we just made a move. We wanted to play f4. Let's look at some options from the computer. Okay, h4, gaining space probably with just h5, h6. Putting either rook to the d file or even rook to the c file. I guess they want to play c4. It's a little odd. All of these plans are kind of weird. So I don't mind our move g3. He goes here and says it's a terrible move again. We throw in this check, which is just, it's not an improving move for us because we're going to take the knight anyway. It's just a disruptive move. So we throw in a free disruption move, and then we take the knight with a win condition, which is this structure. So I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't follow the engine's best, bishop g5 checks and stuff. But I played pretty solid moves, and I waited for my chance to just a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit of knight taking for bishop, a little bit of doubling the pawns, and now tripling the pawns, and add it all together. And here's an advantage that I can easily convert. I don't need to be an engine. So now I develop a piece towards the center. Free stuff because the trades are wins. And now again, offering another trade. He moves away, which I said has to be way worse. At least if he takes, engine says it's still only plus 1.3. I mean, really terrible for black, but he can try and hold, I guess. My idea was to just get my king here. I guess maybe he wants his king here. I don't really know. But I don't know. I guess he could have tried that. And I would have just run my pawns up. And it would have been a race. I probably would have been more centralized, and that's why I win. But in any case, he doesn't go for that. He does something that I knew had to be way worse, and it goes from +1 to +5. Because we just get him for free. Free stuff. You don't have to do this stuff. You could just take his stuff, but whatever. Free stuff. Okay, force move and force move. It's +5, and then he blunders his rook. So anyway, all in all, only one inaccuracy and 95%. Even though I let the advantage, go up and down a couple times, at least, in white's, it was always in white's favor. It says only one inaccuracy. So not a big deal, and I like the way we played it, just creating the structural weaknesses, showing you if you get good at those types of positions, other players, they have complete and total disregard for positions like that. They don't look at them, they don't play them, they want nothing to do with them. But they're just easy wins. So if you're interested, check out my Philidor speedrun. Goodbye.